welcome to this video recording of the explanation and conduct of practical experiments of the class 11 in zoology. We have divided these experiments into two groups. In the first group, we have taken up with the representative animal types like amoeba and other animals. In an ascending order, I will be explaining. And in the next group, we have taken up with several experiments, physiological experiments and psychological experimental demonstration, etc. So first, we shall enter into the first part, that is the taxonomy. That is the description of characters of some representative animals of different phyla. As you know, there are 10 major phyla, starting from protozoa, Porifera, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Nemathelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, and finally Chordata. We have chosen one animal each from each phylum and will be describing about the important characteristic features that identify the animal species. We start with amoeba. This is the figure of Amoeba proteus, and this is the classification. The kingdom is Protista. As you know, before going into its classification, let me tell you something about the five kingdom classification. R.S. Whitaker's five kingdom classification is being widely followed in texts, and therefore we have written here Protista. The first kingdom is Protista, and under this kingdom Protista, the phylum is Protozoa. These are all unicellular organisms, and the class is Rhizopoda. This is characterized by the presence of Pseudopodia, the locomotor organelles, and the genus is Amoeba. The species is Amoeba proteus. This is the figure diagrammatic presentation of amoeba. It is characterized by the following features. These are the important features, remember, identifying features. It is unicellular, aquatic, microscopic organism present in clear, stagnant water of ponds, pools, and beaches. The shape is irregular due to the presence of numerous or several, as I can say, not numerous, several temporary protoplasmic processes called pseudopodia. Singular is pseudopodium, plural is pseudopodia. These execute locomotion. Next character is the protoplasm is surrounded by a plasma membrane, a semi-permeable plasma membrane, which is also referred to as the plasma lemma. The protoplasm is divided into an outer ectoplasm and an inner endoplasm. The endoplasm is further differentiated into an outer, thinner, jelly-like plasma gel and an inner, less viscous or watery plasma solid. There is a centrally situated prominent nucleus surrounded by endoplasm, a part of the cytoplasm. The endoplasm contains all types of cell organelles, food vacuoles, contractile vacuoles, and reserve food granules. Contractile vacuoles carry out the function of osmoregulation. Osmoregulation refers to removal of excess of water that enters into the cell by a mechanism of flow osmosis. This is what is known as osmoregulation. Then The last character, identifying character is all functions are carried out by the singular cell. Therefore, it is customarily designated as cellular rather than unicellular. These are only a few identifying features of amoeba proteus. There are other features which we have skipped. And a student is supposed to write 5 to 6 characters. He or she will be allowed only 3 to 4 minutes time to draw the level diagram, to write the features and then identify it. Therefore, only 6 to 7 or 7 to 8 important identifying characters one is supposed to write. Next, we move on to the next animal, that is Saifa or Saicon. First of all, its classification. The kingdom is Animalia, as against Protista for Amoeba proteus. This is another kingdom in the 5 kingdom classification. The phylum is Porifera. The identifying features of the phylum Porifera are the presence of numerous pores. Therefore, these animals are called pore bearers. Porifera, pore bearers. Then the class is Calcarea. Calcarea is identified by the presence of calcareous or calcium carbonate spicules in mesenchyme. And the genus is Saifa or Saicon. As you may write it, both are correct, Saifa or Saicon. If you identify features, this is the level diagram. Then identifying features. It is a marine colonial sponge. Marine colonial means there will be several sponges together in a small area, in close to each other. This is called the colony. Formed attached to submerged rocks in shallow coastal waters. These are sedentary or permanently attached to a submerged substratum in the coastal sea water. The body is divided into a basal part. This is the basal part. Look at this. With the help of this basal part, sponge is attached to a submerged substratum. The part that emerges from the basal part is known as the body cylinder. And at the top of the body cylinder, there will be a very wide opening which is known as the osculum. The osculum is being surrounded by a fringe called oscular fringe. The oscular fringe is made up of many calcareous spicules. These calcareous spicules protect any outside animal from entering into the body through the osculum. The body cylinder is perforated by many pores, minute pores called ostia. The ostia open into a system of canals, together constituting a canal system. The canals, all canals, open into a central paragastric cavity or spongiosale that finally opens to outside through an osculum. So, these are ostia indeed not visible in the figure, but here will be the ostia. All the ostia open into a system of canals or channels. This system of canals or channels together constitute a canal system. The canal system finally opens into a singular cavity here at the center of the body cylinder, and this cavity is known as paragastric cavity or spongiosale. Spongiosale ultimately opens to the exterior through osculum. So ostia, canal system, then spongiosale, then through osculum to the exterior. The sponges are characterized by the presence of specialized flask-shaped flagellated cells called choanocytes. These choanocytes are not seen elsewhere except in one or two species of protozoa. The endoskeleton is made up of calcareous spicules of different crystalline shapes. Sci-fi exhibits an extraordinary power of regeneration. Regeneration means if you cut sci-fi into several pieces, each piece will develop into a complete sci-fi or cycon. This phenomenon is known as regeneration. Re means once again, generation means formation. It is the ability of a part of the body to reform the missing part. A fragment of cycle or cycon regenerates or reforms the missing part of the body. This is a remarkable power associated with all sponges, not just cypher, all sponges. So the important characters a student is supposed to write are, look at this, the structure of the body, that is the division of the body. First character, then pores are present or ostia are present. Second character, which identifies the phylum. Then spicules are present, calcium carbonate spicules. Then a canal system, spongocele, choanocytes, this much. If you mention about regeneration, it's well and good. If you don't, then there is no harm in it. But these are some important features associated with cypher or cycon. Only a few characters a student is supposed to. How much a student can write within 3 minutes? 5 to 6 characters in maximum. So he or she has to choose which character he or she has to write within this stipulated 3 minutes time. Next we move on to a freshwater polyp, that is hydra. This is a diagrammatic presentation of hydra, a freshwater polyp. Look at the classification. First of all, kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Coelenterata. The name of phylum is derived from a word Coelenteron. Coelenteron is the central cavity present in the body of hydra. Coelenteron. Just as we noted spongocele or paragastric cavity in cypher or cycon. Just like that, there will be central cavity called coelenteron. Another remarkable character associated with hydra is its symmetry, body symmetry. The body is radially symmetrical. Radial symmetry refers to a phenomenon that is associated with hydra. If hydra is cut by a longitudinal plane passing through the main axis of the body, 2 equal halves are obtained. You cut hydra as many times, you get 2 equal halves. This is called radial symmetry. It's a remarkable feature associated with hydra. Next character. The polyp is divided into a basal disc, body column, hypostome or oral cone. This is the basal disc. This is the main part of the body, that is the body column, and a conical projection is present at the free distal end. Look at my fingertip. This is the free distal end. This is the attached proximal end. So here will be a conical projection, the hypostome at the free end. And at top of the hypostome there will be an aperture called the mouth. The mouth is being surrounded by a circlet of hollow tentacles. The tentacles are loaded with a special type of cell, stinging cell, which is named as nematoblast or nidoblast. These are stinging cells. These help in offense and defense of hydra. These are spatially colonized in the tentacles. The body wall is diploblastic, consisting of two primary zooid layers. The outer layer is single layered ectoderm, inner is endoderm. The two layers are cemented together by a gelatinous non-cellular layer called mesoglia. The endoderm encloses a cylindron, a cavity at the center called cylindron or gastrovascular cavity. In Hydra, there are several types of specialized cells which are not found elsewhere in the animal kingdom. One of these specialized cells is interstitial cells. About the other, I have already told you. Cells responsible for offense and defense. These are called nematoblasts or neuroblasts. The interstitial cells are embryonic undifferentiated cells. An embryonic undifferentiated cell may differentiate into any other kind of cell if an appropriate environment is provided. So, interstitial cells are called embryonic undifferentiated cells. These cells indeed help Hydra during the process of regeneration. Like sponges, the freshwater polyp Hydra also exhibits a remarkable power of regeneration. Any small part of the body is able to regenerate the missing part, thus forming a complete Hydra. Next animal type, liver fluke. Its common name is liver fluke. The scientific name is Fasciola hepatica. This is the diagrammatic presentation of Fasciola hepatica, and this is the classification. Like Hydra and sponges, the kingdom is Animalia. Phylum is Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes includes animals which are commonly known as flatworms. They are dorsoventrally flat. Dorsoventrally flat means this is the dorsal side, this is the ventral side. They will be compressed or flat, these worms. One of these flatworms is Fasciola hepatica or liver fluke. This is an identifying feature of the phylum Platyhelminthes. Then the class is Trematoda, genus is Fasciola, species is Fasciola hepatica. Some of the important characters. It is commonly known as liver fluke, I have already mentioned. It is an endoparasite living in the liver of sheep. It is not a human parasite. It's a parasite of sheep, remember. The body is flat and oval in outline. The anterior end is blunt. Look at the anterior end. The anterior end is blunt, while the posterior end is tapering. At the anterior end, there is a conical projection called the oral cone. This is the oral cone, the conical projection, oral cone. There is a mouth aperture on top of the oral cone. So, here will be the mouth aperture. The mouth aperture is encircled by an oral sucker. Oral sucker. There is another sucker, the acetabulum, on the ventral side behind the oral sucker. Here, look at this. This is the ventral view of Fasciola hepatica. This is the mouth. Posterior to the mouth aperture, there will be an acetabulum. Okay? This is the acetabulum. This is another sucker. This sucker is used for clinging on to the liver cells. There is a single gonopore between the oral sucker and acetabulum. This is the oral sucker, this is the acetabulum, and in between there will be a gonopore, a single gonopore. A single excretory pore is present at the extreme posterior end. Look at the posterior end. Excretory opening or excretory pore will be present here.
The gonopore will be present between the oral sucker and the acetabulum. The body wall consists of an outer cuticle, a basement membrane, a subcuticular muscle layer, and mesenchyme or parenchyma. Students may omit this character because body wall is somewhat specialized with reference to the presence of mesenchyme or parenchyma. Therefore, I told you. In Hydra, the ectoderm and ectoderm, remember, recall the case of Hydra. In Hydra, the ectoderm and endoderm are cemented together by a non-cellular gelatinous layer. But here, the outer ectoderm is cemented to the inner endoderm by a mesenchyme. The mesenchyme is a cellular layer. The difference between mesoglia and mesenchyme is mesoglia is a non-cellular gelatinous layer, while mesenchyme is a cellular layer. The excretory system in Fasciola hepatica consists of a large number of characteristic protonephridia of flame cells. Such flame cells are present only in a few animal types, and this is again, therefore, this character is an identifying feature of the platyhelminths, the animals belonging to the phylum Platyhelminthes. Fasciola hepatica is a digenetic parasite completing its life cycle in two hosts. There will be two hosts for a digenetic parasite, a primary host. Here the primary host is the sheep, and there will be a secondary host. The secondary host is the freshwater snail. So, Fasciola hepatica completes its life cycle in these two hosts. Again, once again I repeat, a primary host, that is the sheep, and a secondary host or intermediate host, that is the freshwater snail. It never parasitizes a human. It's not a human parasite. Then comes the roundworm. Its scientific name is Ascaris lumbricoides, and it belongs to the phylum Aschelminthes or Nemathelminthes. Very often, students are used to writing the name of the phylum as Nematohelminthes. It's not Nematohelminthes, it is rather Nemathelminthes. Aschelminthes. These are two synonymous terms. Either write Aschelminthes or write Nemathelminthes. The class is Nematoda and genus is Ascaris. The species is Ascaris lumbricoides. The previous phylum, if you remember, the previous phylum was Platyhelminthes, which includes flatworms. This phylum is Aschelminthes or Nemathelminthes, which includes the roundworms. Flat or round refers to the cross-section outline of the body. Do you understand what is cross-section outline of the body? If you cut the body along a transverse plane in flatworms, the body will be flat, will be compressed dorsoventrally from the dorsal side as well as from the ventral side. The body will be compressed. While in the roundworms, if you take a cross section or cross-sectional outline, the outline will be circular. Such worms are called roundworms. Hence, Ascaris lumbricoides is a roundworm. It's a monogenetic parasite. Very important word, monogenetic. There is another word or term, digenetic. Monogenetic, mono means one. The parasite that completes its life cycle in a single host is a monogenetic parasite. And a parasite that completes its life cycle in two hosts is a digenetic parasite. Remember the case of Fasciola hepatica? Fasciola hepatica completes its life cycle in sea as well as freshwater snail. Hence, it is a digenetic parasite. While Ascaris is a monogenetic parasite. This is one of the most important features of Ascaris lumbricoides. It infects human hosts only. So be careful. Unhygienic practice and poor sanitation practices are responsible for this infection or an infection by Ascaris lumbricoides. Its long, slender, and cylindrical worm harboring the intestine more commonly in children than in adults. Adults are less prone to its infection. Children are more prone to its infection because they least bother about the good hygienic and sanitation practice. Most of the children. There is a distinct sexual dimorphism. That is, males and females are separate individuals. They are distinguished from each other easily from some morphological features. This is the phenomenon of sexual dimorphism. Male and female Ascaris are distinguished from each other by distinct morphological features. Look at this. This is the posterior end of male Ascaris, and this is of the female. The posterior end of the male Ascaris is carved, slightly carved, and a pair of spine-like structures emerge from the cloacal aperture. Such spiny structures are called penial setae. The penial setae are present only in the male Ascaris. Such features are not present in the female Ascaris. The posterior end of the female Ascaris or posterior part of the female Ascaris is relatively straighter, and no such penial setae like that of the male is present. So, this is about the sexual dimorphism in Ascaris. There is a gonopore on the ventral side of the female. This is the female and this is the male. Look at the male's posterior end, it is curved. This is relatively straighter. In the female, there will be gonopore. But in the male, there is no separate gonopore because the genital ducts and the alimentary canal open into a common chamber or cavity called cloacal cavity. There is no separate gonadal opening in the male Ascaris, while in female there is a separate gonopore. A true coelom is absent. Instead, there is a false coelom known as pseudocele. So let's know in one sentence the difference between a true coelom and a false coelom or pseudocele. A true coelom is a cavity that is lined on both sides by mesoderm. A false coelom is a cavity which is never lined by mesoderm on either side. This is one of the important distinguishing features of Ascaris because this feature is present in only a few animals, not in all. This coelom is absent, instead there is a false coelom known as pseudocele. It causes, Ascaris causes a gastrointestinal disorder called ascariasis. Gastrointestinal disorder. Therefore, the parasite lives in the alimentary canal more commonly in children than in adults. Next animal. Earthworm. Its scientific name is Paratima posthuma. The classification, kingdom is Animalia, phylum is Annelida. Annelida refers to the joining together of rings in the animal. If you look at the body of the earthworm, it will look like as though several rings are joined together in a linear order. So annulus means rings. These rings are known as these body segments. The class is Oligochaeta. Oligous means few. Chaeta refers to locomotor structures present as a circlet in each segment. The body is worm-like, cylindrical and metamerically segmented. Metamerically segmented is, you please underline this word, because this metamerical segmentation of the body is a characteristic feature that begins with the phylum Annelida and continues above in an ascending order. Metamerism means, or metameric segmentation refers to repetition of similar segments in a linear order. That is, one segment is repeated one after another in a linear order, making the entire cylindrical worm. So this is one segment. The similar segment will be present behind. Another segment will be present in the third position and so on. It continues. It will give rise to an entire animal. So body looks like segmented, and this is a typical character of the phylum Annelida. The mouth is ventral and is surrounded by the first segment, the peristomium. The first body segment is known as peristomium. A muscular lobe known as the prosomium. Here, look at this figure. This is the first segment, and preceding to the first segment there is a simple muscular lobe, and this muscular lobe is known as prostomium. Each segment has a ring of S-shaped chitinous cyti. I was referring to these cyti functioning as locomotor organs a little while ago. These are known as chitinous cyti, which brings about locomotion. This is the function of cyti. The 14th, 15th and 16th segments together constitute a relatively thicker barrel-like structure called the clitellum. So, this is the clitellum, position of the clitellum here. 14th, 15th and 16th. All these three segments together constitute the clitellum. There is a median female genital or oviductal aperture on the ventral side of the 14th segment. The female genital aperture is a median feature, singular feature. It is present only on the 14th segment, while the male genital or spermidoccal apertures are paired apertures present on the 18th segment bilaterally, one on each side of the midventral line. So remember, the oviductal aperture is a singular opening that is present on the median line of the 14th segment, while the male genital apertures are paired apertures present bilaterally in the segment 18. There are two pairs of genital papillae, one each on the ventral sides of 17th and 19th segments. The body wall is triploblastic and there is a true coelom. So triploblastic body wall, true coelom, these two characters are also important. So only a few characters a student is supposed to write. Student may skip over one or two characters here. Look at the male genital apertures and genital papillae here. Um, the middle, this is the 18th segment. There will be a pair of male genital apertures. And preceding segment will have a pair of, that is 17th segment will have a pair of genital papillae. And 19th segment 2 will have a pair of genital papillae. The next animal in the ascending order is cockroach. Its scientific name is Periplaneta americana. This is the diagrammatic presentation, level diagrammatic presentation of cockroach. Classification. As usual, the kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Arthropoda. The name of the phylum is significant because it is derived from two roots, arthros and odium. Arthros means jointed, odium means foot. The foot are jointed. The foot is made up of many segments joined together. This foot is a jointed foot. The class is Insecta. This class is characterized by the presence of 3 pairs of walking legs. All the walking legs are jointed legs. And 2 pairs of wings also characterize the class. So the important characteristic features of the class are 3 pairs of walking legs and 2 pairs of wings. The genus is Periplaneta, species is Americana. And make a correction, I'm making a correction here. And this is capital A, alphabet A. Instead of capital alphabet, it should be small a. This is a typological error. Kindly bear with it. Some features. The body is bilaterally symmetrical. Here comes the phenomenon of bilateral symmetry. The body can be divided into 2 equal halves by one and only one plane. Contrasting to the hydra. Hydra is radially symmetrical while cockroach is bilaterally symmetrical. If you divide it along its midline into 2 halves, the 2 halves will be equal. This can be done only once. This is called bilateral symmetry. The entire body is externally covered by a tough brown colored chitinous cuticle. You hold the cockroach, you will feel a relative toughness. It is relatively tougher than the other soft-bodied animals. This toughness is due to the presence of a cuticular covering of the body, and it is brown in color and it constitutes the exoskeleton, the external skeletal frame of the body. The body is divided into head, thorax and abdomen. 3 parts the body is divided into. The thorax is 3 segmented, that is divided into 3 parts: prothorax, mesothorax and metathorax. The abdomen is 10 segmented. The exoskeleton of each segment, the body is segmented, it is divided into many segments. So if you look at each segment will have a dorsal cuticular cover called tergum, a ventral cuticle. This is the dorsal side. The right palm is the dorsal side, the left palm is the ventral side. Look at this. The dorsal cuticular cover of each segment constitutes a tergum
The ventral constitutes a sternum. The tergum and sternum will be joined together on two lateral sides by relatively thinner pleura. So here will be one pleuron, here will be another pleuron. Singular is pleuron, plural is pleura. Similarly, tergum and terga, sternum and sterna. These are two forms of the same word. So, tergum, sternum, and on the sides will be present pleura. The head is triangular and bears a pair of antennae. These are two antennae. The antennae work as feelers. You touch the antenna of a cockroach, the cockroach can feel that you are touching it. It will immediately run away from you. So it acts as a feeler. So there will be the head will bear a pair of antennae, a pair of compound eyes. Our eye is a simple eye, but the eye of an insect is a compound eye. A compound eye is an eye that is made up of many similar units called ommatidia. Singular is ommatidium, plural is ommatidia. There will be many ommatidia in a compound eye. Each ommatidium is responsible for the formation of the image of a small part of the body or object. So, insects are characterized by the presence of compound eyes. So, there will be a pair of antennae. Remember, there will be head bears a pair of antennae, a pair of compound eyes, and characteristic chitinous mouth parts. The names of the mouth parts you need not mention in the examination. These are not important, but important to remember. The mouth parts are of cockroach are a labium, a labrum, a pair of maxillae, a pair of mandibles, and a hypopharynx. There will be a labrum, singular dorsal labrum. On the dorsal side of guarding the dorsal part of the mouth is a labrum, and there will be a ventral labium. There will be two lateral maxillae, and there will be a pair of mandibles, chitinous mandibles, and there will be singular median hypopharynx. These are the mouth parts of cockroach. You may not mention about these mouth parts, but you may remember these mouth parts. The thorax bears two pairs of wings and three pairs of working legs. In a female, the seventh sternum, recall, the sternum is the ventral cuticular cover of each segment is a sternum. So the seventh sternum, abdomen is, I have already mentioned, that abdomen is 10 segmented. So look at this seventh segment of the abdomen, the seventh sternum. This seventh sternum is largest among all the sterna and is both set. It's largest and is both set, especially in the female cockroach. This both set seventh sternum is referred to as a hypogynium. Hypogynium. It's not present in male, only in female. So the presence of the hypogynium is a sexually dimorphic character in cockroach. The 10th tergum in both sexes, both in the male and female, bears a pair of jointed anal cerci. A pair of jointed anal cerci in both sexes. There is a pair of small, thin and unjointed anal styles projecting from the 9th sternum of the male. This is only exclusive to the male cockroach, anal styles.
Anal styles are not present in the female cockroach. Where does it originate from? It originates from the ninth sternum only in the male cockroach. This is a pair of anal styles. So the hypogynium in the female and the anal styles in the male together constitute important sexually dimorphic characters. This is all about cockroach. Next we move on to another animal type in the ascending order. This is Phyla globosa. It's commonly known as apple snail. See the classification. Kingdom is Animalia. Phylum is Mollusca. Phylum's name is Mollusca. Each phylum's name has its significance. Mollusca Mollusca includes soft-bodied animals which are enclosed within cells. Soft-bodied animals enclosed within cells. Mollusca. The class is Gastropoda. Genus is Phyla. Species is Globosa. Phyla globosa. It's commonly known as apple snail. It lives in fresh water. The body is very soft and delicate. It's covered by a cell. All of you must have seen snails, and all snails have a cell of calcium carbonate, calcareous cell, covering the soft body parts. So this is the cell from outside. This is the anterior view of the soft body of Phyla. The soft body is divided into three distinct regions: head, foot, and visceral mass. This is the head. Following the head, preceding to the head, there will be a foot, and behind the head, there will be a visceral mass, that is the main part of the body. The visceral organs are present in the visceral roots. There is a loose fold of skin called mantle or pallium. This is the cell. Here in this figure, the cell is removed. And between the cell and the main part of the body, there is a loose fold of skin called the mantle or pallium. The cavity between the mantle and the visceral mass is known as the mantle cavity. This is again an important character, the presence of a mantle which is not found in other animals. The mantle bears an ostradium. This is underlined. This is an important character of Phyla, ostradium. This is a sense organ. It's a singular sense organ found on the left side. It detects the chemical nature of water. Whether the water is suitable for living or not, it can detect. Ostradium. The foot is muscular, having a triangular creeping sole on which the snail moves. The visceral mass, as I have already mentioned, is spirally coiled. The posterior end of the visceral mass is spirally coiled. It is twisted spirally. There is a true coelom, and the coelom is reduced due to the presence of a blood-filled space called hemocoel. This is the identical situation in a cockroach. A true coelom is present in the cockroach, but the coelom's volume is terribly reduced due to the presence of a blood-filled space that is known as hemocoel. The same situation prevails over here in the case of snail. There is a coelom, but the coelom is highly reduced due to presence of an enlarged hemocoel or blood-filled space. The juvenile snail is bilaterally symmetrical. However, during the development and the metamorphosis, it undergoes a process of twisting known as torsion. This is again a peculiar phenomenon associated with snail and its kins. The mollusks which come under the class gastropoda. Most of the gastropods exhibit the phenomenon of torsion. Torsion means twisting of the body in a spiral manner. This is known as torsion. The juvenile pili is bilaterally symmetrical. But when it undergoes further development, it undergoes torsion, there is a twisting of the body, and then it becomes asymmetrical. This is a very peculiar phenomenon associated with the phylum Mollusca. It is not found elsewhere in the animal kingdom, only in the phylum Mollusca. Then starfish. Its scientific name is Asterias rubens. The kingdom, as usual, is Animalia. The phylum is Echinodermata. The word Echinodermata is again significant. Echinos means spines, derma means skin. The skin is spiny. The skin feels very rough if you pass your fingers on it. It's rough due to the spiny projection on the skin. Hence, from this feature, the name of the phylum is Echinodermata. The class is Asteroideae, genus is Asterias, species is Asterias rubens. The body is dorsoventrally, it's commonly known as starfish as usual. Because I have been telling you the common names of each animal type we are supposed to study. The common names like the apple snail of Pila globosa, this is the starfish. The body is dorsoventrally flattened and is pentaradially symmetrical. Again, there is a word pentaradially. Just recall, we uttered the word radial symmetry first in connection with Hydra. Adult Hydra is radially symmetrical. Here, the adult starfish too is radially symmetrical. It is not just radially symmetrical but pentaradially symmetrical. Look at this figure. It looks like a star. You cut it across this line, you get two equal halves. You cut it across this line, you too get two equal halves. As many times as you cut it, you get two equal halves. This is called pentaradial symmetry. There will be 5 arms, radiating arms, and it is radially symmetrical. This is one view, this is the, I think, oral view, and this is the aboral view of starfish. The dorsoventrally flattened body is pentaradially symmetrical. It consists of 5 equal arms radiating from the center. There is a mistake missing, R is missing from here. Radiating from the center. The body has distinct oral and aboral surfaces. These are the two surfaces. This is the oral surface. Oral surface is the surface where there is a mouth. Aboral surface is exactly the opposite surface. This is the oral surface, this is the aboral surface. There is a pentagonal mouth at the center of the oral surface. Here is the mouth, and the said mouth is pentagonal. It is present on the side of the oral surface. From the mouth radiate a groove. Look at these grooves. The grooves are visible. From the mouth radiate a single groove into the arm, into each arm. This groove is known as an umbilical groove. Umbilical groove. So there will be 5 umbilical grooves. Each umbilical groove contains 4 rows of cubic of podia. Here, It's not visible here. I haven't drawn its figure. There will be 4 rows of podia or tube feet in each umbilical groove. The tube feet execute locomotion. The surface opposite to the oral surface is the aboral surface and is marked by the presence of an anus, a porous madreporite, and many calcareous spines or ossicles. So this is the aboral surface. Here will be the madreporite. The madreporite is porous. It bears numerous small and fine pores. Madreporite. There will be an anus very close to the madreporite, and there will be numerous spiny structures called ossicles. Ossicles. The madreporite, I have already told you, it's a porous plate that opens into the water vascular system. You remember, you underline this word. This is underlined here, but you remember and underline this word. Water vascular system is peculiar to the phylum Echinodermata. It is found nowhere in the animal kingdom, in no phylum. Only in the phylum Echinodermata, water vascular system. The aboral surface is also marked by thin walled sacs called dermal branchi or papule. Aboral surface, the surface opposite to the oral surface, is marked by the presence of specialized structures, thin walled structures called dermal branchi or papule. These help in gaseous exchange or respiration. There are numerous spines of different shapes known as pedicellari on the aboral surface. Hence, the phylum's name is Echinodermata. At the beginning, I was making a reference to it. Why the name is Echinodermata? Due to the presence of numerous spines. One group of such spines is referred to as pedicellari, and pedicellari are especially present on the aboral side of a starfish. There is a true coelom. The coelom is quite spacious and it is characteristic, like other coelomids. Next, I am coming to the most important feature that will have a phylogenetic significance, very important significance. Echinoderms, especially the starfish, reproduces via a larval form. There is a larval form or larva in its life cycle. The name of the larva is Bipinnaria. There is yet another larva. The Bipinnaria changes into Brachyolaria. But I am referring to the Bipinnaria. There are these are two larvae. One is Bipinnaria. Next larva is Bipinnaria. Changes into Brachyolaria. Brachyolaria finally metamorphoses into a miniature starfish. This process is known as metamorphosis, transformation process, through which a larva changes into a miniature form of the adult. The most peculiar feature associated with Bipinnaria is that it is bilaterally symmetrical. Remember, this is the most important part of the starfish study. It is bilaterally symmetrical, while it metamorphoses into a radially symmetrical starfish. This feature has quite a lot of phylogenetic significance. Phylogenetic significance means if you study the animals in the next ascending order, in the next lineup, you will find quite a close similarity between the Echinodermata and the other phyla in the ascending order. So, this symmetry of Bipinnaria is the primary symmetry. Always the embryo is considered as the primary structure and the adult always is the secondary structure. The symmetry of the embryo is more important than that of the adult. It decides where to put the phylum. Since it is bilaterally symmetrical, the embryo is bilaterally symmetrical, the larva is bilaterally symmetrical. It is placed above the phylum Mollusca and very close to Hemichordata. So this is about its significance. A bilateral symmetry changing into radial symmetry. Larva changing into adult. So the adult is secondary, larva is primary. We always go by the structures of the larva, the primary structures. The structures of the adult are never primary. They are secondary always. Look at this. We have only few animal. We always we have only few. We always we have only few.
Up till now, we took up with the non-chordate specimens or animals, non-chordate animals, animal types. Next, we take up with the animal types belonging to the phylum Chordata. The phylum Chordata, prior to discussion, let's have an overview of the phylum Chordata. The animals that belong to the phylum Chordata are characterized by three usual features everybody knows. A notochord, a dorsal tubular notochord, and pharyngeal gill clefts or slits. Besides, there is an additional important character that very few of us know. That is the presence of a tail. The presence of a tail, the other three characters which I have mentioned about a little while ago are internal characters. You cannot see the notochord, neither can you see the nerve cord. So how do you identify? The main feature to identify it chordate is to look at the posterior end of the body. If there is a tail, it's a chordate. If there is a tail, it's a chordate. So what is a tail? A tail is a posterior extension of the body behind the anal aperture or cloacal aperture. If any part of the body that is extending behind the anal aperture, you call it a tail. So if this tail is present, what is the position of the anal aperture? It is ventral in position. What is the position of the cloacal aperture? If present, it is ventral in position. But if there is no tail, the anal aperture is terminal in position. If the anal aperture is terminal in position, there is no tail, and if there is no tail, the animal belongs to non-chordata. If there is a tail, the animal belongs to the phylum Chordata. So this is the most conclusive structure or structural part of the body, looking at which you identify the animal as a chordate. So here we have to discuss about some representative chordate types. One is a cartilaginous space that is not there on the board, cartilaginous space. A bony face, a typical bony face. Then a frog, species of frog, a lizard, a bird, and a mammal, a bat. We have to consider a few important points from each of these specimens. First of all, coming to the cartilaginous space. Its classification. The kingdom is Animalia. Then the phylum is Chordata. I have discussed about the characters of Chordata. 3 characters and an additional character. Notochord, northchord, pharyngeal gill clefts and tail. All these are characters, important characters of a chordate. It belongs to the phylum Chordata. Then superclass Gnathostomata. Gnathostomata means the presence of hinged jaws. We have 2 jaws, upper jaw and lower jaw. Our jaws are movable, hence the jaws are called moving jaws, hinged jaws. So if hinged jaws are present, then
It is Gnathostomata. The word is, the superclass is Gnathostomata. Then we come to this Pisces. Pisces. All fishes belong to this super series species. All fishes, whether freshwater, marine, or any other place, any other water body. These all belong to the series species. What is the most important feature of a fish? If I ask you, or if I ask a student, tell me an important feature of a fish, he or she will respond immediately by saying that a fish has scales, a fish has fins. But alas, these are not the important features. Many other animals do possess scales, many other animals too do possess fins. But a fish possesses a unique feature that no other animal possesses, that is the presence of paired fins. First of all, look at the presence of paired fins. If a pair of pectoral fins, a pair of pelvic fins are present, then you blindly or blindfolded say that the animal is a fish. So, all fishes have a pair of pectoral fins and a pair of pelvic fins. Other fins are present in addition. But there are many other animals, fish-like animals, which are indeed not fishes but look like fishes. They will not be having paired fins, pectoral and pelvic fins, remember. Then the class is, it's still your story, but the class of Scoliodon, is a Scoliodon. The class of Scoliodon is Elasmobranchi. It is Elasmobranchi. Scoliodon is a cartilaginous fish. The endoskeleton is entirely cartilaginous. Hope you understand the difference between a cartilage and a bone. A cartilage is soft, a bone is hard. This is a common idea. So, the endoskeleton, the internal skeleton is made up of only cartilages. It is marine, lives in sea. It has a head, a trunk, and a tail. The head is dorsoventrally flattened and is projected forwardly, constituting the snout. The mouth is crescentic and is present on the ventral side of the head. The mouth is followed by 5 pairs of open gill clefts. An open gill cleft is a gill opening or cleft that is not covered by an operculum. So 5 pairs of gill clefts. The tail is heterocercal. Heterocercal means asymmetrical. It is surrounded by a pin that is asymmetrical. Such a tail is known as heterocercal tail. The body, the skin has embedded microscopic spiny placoid scales. A fish is characterized, sometimes it is characterized by the presence of scales. What kind of scale is present in a cartilaginous fish? These are microscopic, embedded in the skin, and these scales are known as placoid scales. They have a characteristic structure. These are some of the features of the cartilaginous fish. Additional features. There is a sexual dimorphic character in the cartilaginous fish. there is a pair of claspers. You press the cloacal aperture. In the male, there will be a pair of claspers coming out of the aperture. This constitutes the sexual dimorphic character in a cartilaginous space. As I have already mentioned, the endoskeleton is entirely cartilaginous. And these are some important identifying features of cartilaginous space. Next, we come to a bony face. The classification remains similar except for the class. Scoliodon or this fish was a cartilaginous space. This fish was a cartilaginous space. And hence its class was Elasmobranchi. This is a bony face. Look at this. This is a bony face. Its class is Teleostomi. All bony fishes belong to the class Teleostomi. You must have seen several bony fishes, rohu, bhakur, and many other fishes available in the market. All are bony fishes. No cartilaginous fish is sold in the market. So this is a rohu. The scientific name is Labio rohita. Rohu fish. It's a freshwater fish, bony fish, living in ponds, pools, rivers, lakes, and other freshwater bodies. It's a major carp. Sometimes it's known as a major, it is identified as a major carp, CARP, cultured as an edible fish. It is sometimes cultured. A fish farmer cultures these species, the major carps, for his financial benefits, economic benefits. This is a culturable fish. And the body is divided into head, trunk, and tail. The head is nearly triangular and laterally flattened. You must have seen the head of a rohu. It is laterally flattened and nearly triangular. The head bears a terminal mouth bound by two jaws. There is a pair of dorsolateral nostrils and lateral eyes. There is a pair of short thread-like sensory processes called maxillary barbels. Here will be the maxillary barbels. The maxillary barbels arise from the upper lip of the mouth. Maxillary barbels are very fine thread-like structures. Behind the eyes, there is one each of a pair of gill openings. There will be one gill opening on either side, on each side. On the left side, there will be one gill opening. On the right side, there will be another gill opening. Or branchial openings. The openings are covered by bony opercula. Opercula means singular and opercula is plural. Each gill opening is covered by an operculum. Bony operculum, that too. The entire body is covered by macroscopic dormal cycloid scales. Look at the name. Cycloid scales. The scales which are found in a cartilaginous space are microscopic and placoid scales, while those in the bony fishes are the one that we are discussing here in this context. This is rohu. The scales are cycloid scales. These are not microscopic, these are macroscopic. You can remove the scales. You have seen how big the scales are. The bigger the piece is, the bigger the scales are. Next. The trunk bears unpaired, median or unpaired fins. Both types of fins are present. As making a reference to paired fins. There are many animals which look like fishes but indeed are not fishes. Why are they not fishes? Because they do not possess paired fins. Pectoral fins, pelvic fins are not present. While in fishes, the pectoral fins and pelvic fins are present. Along with median fins, the median fins too are present. Another point of difference between the cartilaginous fish and bony fish is that the fins, all the fins are supported by bony fin rays, spiny bony fin rays. If you look at the fins will be straighter, supported by spiny bony fin rays. The tail is symmetrical. In the case of the cartilaginous fish, the tail was asymmetrical, heterocircular. But here it is homocircular, symmetrical tail. Look at the tail. It can be divided into two equal parts if you cut it. But you can never divide the tail into two equal halves in a cartilaginous fish. The endoskeleton is both bony and cartilaginous. So two types of endoskeletal elements are present. Cartilages are present, bones too are present. A swing bladder is present, but in cartilaginous fish there is no swing bladder. Two lateral lines or neuromuscular organs are present. Look at the sides. Yes, a line each you can see on the lateral sides. On this side you will find a line extending from behind the operculum up till the tail, and the other side too. These lines are known as lateral lines. These are sense organs which serve as rheoreceptors, RHEO, rheoreceptors. These rheoreceptors detect the direction of the water current, which way to swim. The fish can decide from the response of the lateral line system. Next we move on to the next specimen, correct specimen, that is a frog. It's a jumping frog or tree frog belonging to the species Polypedatus maculatus. A little bit about its classification. See, the kingdom is Animalia, the phylum is Chordata, subphylum is Vertebrata. I've skipped over 1 minute, just going back. In the case of the fish, I've skipped over the subphylum. Make a correction here. The subphylum is Vertebrata or Craniata. So I have skipped over it. Vertebrata or Craniata. The same thing has to be repeated in cartilaginous fish. The subphylum is Vertebrata. So here, coming back to the jumping frog, kingdom is Animalia, phylum is Chordata, subphylum is Vertebrata or Craniata. What does this word signify? Vertebrata means a vertebral column is present. Craniata means a brain box or cranium is present. Vertebrata or Craniata. Then superclass is Gnathostomata, presence of two jaws, upper and lower. The division is Tetrapoda. Tetrapoda, here the division was, series was pieces. Here it is Tetrapoda. The division is Tetrapoda. So pieces and Tetrapoda are two closely similar words. Closely similar words means pieces possess paired fins, two pairs of fins, while a tetrapod possesses two pairs of limbs. So fins are homologous to limbs. Fins of fishes, we can say, are homologous to limbs of a vertebrate. So here, look at this. Everything lies, all the characters are derived from this classification. Maybe derived from this classification. You remember this classification, you remember so many things about the animal. Because every word is significant in the classification. The class is amphibian. You understand what are its characters? Can you tell me? You can tell me, but that is not an acceptable character. An amphibian goes to water for reproduction, for breeding. Any animal that goes to water for breeding is an amphibian. If I ask you this question, it is quite obvious that you will answer by saying that an animal that lives both on land and in water is an amphibian. No, this is not an absolutely correct answer. The correct answer is an animal which lives on land is terrestrial but goes to water for breeding is an amphibian. Anyway, amphibian order is Anura. A frog or toad belongs to the order Anura. Anura means no tail. The body lacks a tail. It is divided into head and trunk. No tail is there. These are tailless amphibians. So genus is Polypedatus, species is Maculatus. This is a jumping frog or tree frog, commonly we call it. So we have already discussed about its features. Additional features are it lives on the twigs of trees or walls. It can stick onto a wall. Its limbs or digits have adhesive pads. These adhesive pads secrete a sticky substance. With the help of this sticky substance, it can adhere onto a wall or it can adhere onto the twig of a tree. Since it adheres, it lives on the twigs of a tree, it is known as a tree frog. It jumps quite handsomely from one place to the other. Its jumping ability is quite outstanding. Therefore, it too is known as jumping frog. It can jump outstandingly. It can live on the twigs of trees. So, jumping frog or tree frog. So, these are the characters I have mentioned. The limbs are pentadactyl limbs. There are two pairs of limbs. A pair of four limbs and a pair of hind limbs. And each limb is a pentadactyl limb. A pentadactyl limb is a limb that bears 5 digits. Our limb is pentadactyl. Count the number of fingers, 5. Similarly, that of the leg or foot, 5. So, such limbs are known as pentadactyl limbs, 5-digit limbs. The endoskeleton is made up of both bones and cartilages. It is oviparous, lays eggs in water. The egg hatches into a tadpole larva that lives and feeds in water. The tadpole larva then undergoes a radical transformation process called metamorphosis, whereby it changes into a small sized adult that is called a froglet. So, small froglet. The tadpole larva lives, feeds
and respires in water, it then undergoes a transformation, extensive or radical transformation process known as metamorphosis. Then thereby changing into a froglet. Then we have Hemidactylus flaviviridis. Two types of lizards, I tell you. One is one lizard, this is in the CHSC syllabus, and in the CBSE syllabus, they have this lizard. This is a garden lizard. So this is a one lizard. This is a garden lizard. This is in CHSC syllabus, and this is in CBSE syllabus. Both have identical features except only a few. Classification remains similar. Belongs to the phylum Chordata? Yes. Vertebrata or craniata? There is an endoskeleton, vertebral column. There is the cranium. Gnathostomata, two jaws are present. Tetrapoda, two pairs of pentadactyl limbs are present. Reptilia. We come to the characters of reptilia. All reptiles have their body covered by dry and epidermal scales. I'll be making you understand about a dermal scale and an epidermal scale. You must have seen a fish, a small fish grows. With the growth of the fish, the size of the scale increases. But you must have seen lizards, snakes. The snakes shed off their scales. They discard their scales periodically because such scales are unable to grow. Why are they unable to grow? Because of lack of nutrition. Since they are epidermal scales, dead scales, they do not have the ability to grow. They do not draw nourishment. They are present on the epidermis. They can easily be cast off or set off. Such scales are epidermal scales. While the scales present in fishes, for example in rohu, in a cartilaginous place, they are dermal. They arise from the dermis. They draw nourishment from the blood. They grow in size with the growing animal. So, epidermal scale and dermal scale of fishes and epidermal scales of reptiles. So, reptiles are characterized by the presence of dry and raw epidermal scales which are being periodically cast off. So these are some characters. Let me tell you a few only. A one lizard is a common animal on the walls of all houses. The body is divided into head, trunk and tail. The head bears a pair of eyes, a pair of external nostrils, a mouth bound by two hinged jaws. From the mouth protrudes a tongue. It can be termed as a prehensile or protrusible tongue, rather. It can protrude its tongue, throw on the insect, and eat it. Because the tongue secretes a sticky substance. When it throws its tongue on an insect or a prey, the prey sticks onto it, then it retracts its tongue into the mouth with the prey. This is how the wall lizard eats. Anyway, so two pairs of limbs are present, a pair of forelimbs, a pair of hind limbs. All the limbs are pentadactyl
and digits are bear adhesive pads. With the help of these adhesive pads, the wall lizard is able to stick onto the vertical wall. It can stick onto the vertical wall without falling. It's possible due to the presence of adhesive pads here. You can see adhesive papillae or adhesive pads. Many other characters are there. One more important character is the tail. Tail seems to be segmented. If it is uh, irritated or it is being threatened, if it is irritated or the wall lizard is threatened, it can shed off its tail. You must have seen, most of you must have seen this. A wall lizard setting off a tail and the tail behaves as though it is living. It wriggles and it gives an impression as though it is living. But indeed, it is not living, it is dead, but it has life for some time. Therefore, it wriggles. This phenomenon is known as autotomy. Autotomy. Next, we come to the other lizard, that is garden lizard. Classification is similar up to this, up to this Diapsida. Then genus is Calotes and species is Calotes versicolor. This is the animal, you can see. Garden lizard, Calotes versicolor. Its characters are almost similar to that of the wall lizard, except for a few specializations. It doesn't live on the wall, it lives in gardens, on the twigs of trees. Lives in the garden, on the twigs of trees, waiting for its prey. It has a crest of spines along the mid-dorsal line of the body. Crest of spines. You can see, you can easily see crest of spines along the mid-dorsal line of the body. This is the garden lizard. Other characters are closely similar to that of wall lizard. Then we come to, we have skipped over this, we will be discussing at the end of this. Then we have, ma'am, you have a snake
Yes.
in the syllabus?
That group just we are showing this one.
No, do you have it
No.
in your syllabus? No, not in the syllabus, then we skip over it. Next we come to
Rat.
bat. Rat, you have it.
Yes, yes, that one. Last one.
You have it in the syllabus?
Yes.
Rat. Okay, I'll tell you. I'll just give an outline classification and characters. I mention a few characters. Then coming to the next class in the ascending order. Look, the class is Amphibia. Here the class is Reptilia. Here the class is Apes. This is Epigeum. Its scientific name is Columba livia. Epigeum, Columba livia. It belongs to the class Apes. Apes are characterized by the transformation of their forelimbs as wings. Wings. They are aerial. They can fly. They have wings. What is a wing? A transformed forelimb. And second character is their body is covered by feathers. Here, in case of reptiles, the body is covered by dry epidermal scales. In case of amphibian, the body is not covered by anything. It is smooth and moist. The body is smooth and moist in an amphibian. While here the body is rough and dry due to the presence of epidermal scales. But here, see the type of modification. This type of modification depends on the way of life, what it does. These are very sluggish. Therefore, they live in dark places. They have a different way of life. Therefore, their body is covered by, they are very sluggish. They are cold-blooded. They live in dark places, away from human habitation. Therefore, their body is covered by, in dry places they also live. In arid conditions, where there is little water, therefore their body is covered by dry and epidermal scales. And here they fly in air, therefore their forelimbs are modified as wings. The hind limbs, there is a pair of hind limbs. The hind limbs are adapted for clinging on to the twigs like this. They cling up. Hind limbs are used for running, sitting and clinging onto the twig. They cling onto the twig, the digits, they cling onto the twig like this. So that during the night, they continue sitting over it like this. They do not fall down. They sit on the twig for the entire part of the night. This is known as perching. This is a unique feature to birds, perching. Flying is another unique feature. Okay, there are many other animals which can fly, bats too can fly, but perching is a specific feature or a unique feature to birds. So I mentioned a few characters. There is a beak. A beak is not present in any other animal so far discussed. There is a beak. There are feathers. There is a forelimb modified as wings. Hind limbs are adapted for perching and so on. A rat, we'll discuss the rat in the Mammalia section. Rat. Then coming up to a mammal. Up to the division, the classification is similar. In all these, from here, from an amphibian up to a mammal, the classification is similar up to the division. Look at this. Animalia, chordator, vertebrata or craniata. There is a vertebral column or an endoskeleton or a cranium. There are two jaws, gnatostomata. There are two pairs of limbs, petadactyl limbs, tetrapoda. Mammalia. Feathers are unique characters here. Epidermal scales are unique characters here. No structure of this kind is a unique character here. Look, no unique structure of this kind means scale or feather or here. The unique character is the presence of hairs. Presence of hairs on the body. The body is covered by hairs. We are all mammals. We have hairs. If bat is a mammal, possesses hairs. Hairs cover the body. Like the feather, the hairs and the scales, they all originate or are derived from the dermis. Remember, the scales, the structures that can grow in size with the lapse of time are derived from dormice. So, one character I have discussed, presence of hairs, and second important character is presence of pinna, external ear. No other animal possesses a pinna. No pinna is present here, nor here, nor anywhere. But here, mammals do possess pinnae, external ears. This is our pinna. And all mammals possess pinnae for external ears. And third character, all mammals possess mammary glands. Mammary glands. In the female, the mammary glands nourish the developing baby or young baby. It helps the baby grow. Nurse and nourish the baby. Mammary glands. All mammals possess mammary glands. Some of the characters I have discussed here. There is a snout in the case of bat. The elongated part of the head is called a snout. There are pinnae or external ears. Yes, indeed. All since it's a mammal, it ought to possess pinnae or external ears. The body is covered by hairs. Applicus. There are two pairs of pterodactyl limbs as usual. Two pairs of pterodactyl limbs, a pair of forelimbs, and a pair of hind limbs. The limbs bear clawed digits. Claw means like this. A reptile has clawed digits. This here. In Hemidactylus, you have clawed digits. Spiny structures present on top of the digit. Spiny structures. Nail-like structure. Here too, the digits are clawed. Claws are present. What do the claws do? This a bat. During the day, it clings on to a twig, hangs from it. So the claws help the bat holding the twig, in holding the twig strongly so that it doesn't fall down. So bat remains hanging from the twig of a tree day long for the entire day. It does never fall down. Have you ever seen a bat falling down from the twig of a tree? No. It clings on to the twig so tightly, so safely that it doesn't fall down. This is possible due to the presence of long claws. Yes, the claws are present. Another peculiar feature that is associated with the bat is the presence of bat is an aerial animal. Aerial means it can fly. A bird is aerial. A bat is aerial. There are many other animals which are aerial too. Aerial means which can fly. Terrestrial means walking on land. Aquatic means swimming in water. Like this. Arboreal means fossorial means living in burrows. Arboreal on the wall, arboreal. They can be, this is an arboreal animal. It can cling onto the wall without difficulty. This is aerial, flying. We are terrestrial, we can walk on land. Cursorial, running. These are all extra things I am telling you. You need to know all about this because sometimes we are not used to using these words, but we ought to use these words. So I repeat again: terrestrial, walking on land; aquatic, swimming in water; aerial, flying in air; cursorial, living in burrows; arboreal, living on walls or walking on walls, vertical walls, like that of the lizard, wall lizard. These are all habits. So this is an aerial mammal, flying mammal. In addition, there is a kind of how does it fly? Birds have wings of feathers. Here feathers are not present. Feathers are unique characters to birds only. Here a fold of skin, look at the fold of the skin. This is the fold of the skin. A fold of the skin stretches from the forelimb to the hind limb of one side. This fold of the skin is known as the patagium. I have written here patagium. Okay, this is known as the patagium. When the two limbs are spread, the patagium too is spread, like that of a wing, like that of a parachute. So it functions as a parachute. When it glides in air, it doesn't fall down. It acts like a parachute, acts like a wing of a bird. So this is the speciality of the bats. You must have seen during the evening in nearby places, dark places of your house, two types of bats. Larger bats, these are called mega bats. Smaller bats, these are called micro bats. Both are similar in features almost. However, they are different in their feeding habits. These bats are larger bats. Usually we are used to seeing these in the night. Larger bats, mega bats. These are frugivorous. Mainly eat the fruits. Eat fruits. They do not eat flesh or insect or any other animal. While the microbats, smaller ones, they eat insects. They are insectivorous. This is the difference. Bigger in size are frugivorous, while those microbats are smaller in size and are insectivorous. That's it for bats. Next, we move on to another animal. Of course, is there. We let me sorry tell a little about this animal. We'll wind up for lunch. This is bat. There is nothing in it. What do I so? It has dried up. This is a microbat. Microbat. Then this is a white rat. White rat. This is a mammal. This is a mammal. This belongs to the class Mammalia. Okay. This belongs to the class Mammalia. Order characterized for bat. Its order is Rodentia. 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 The order's name is Rodentia. The order to which the rats and mice belong. Rats and mice belong to the order Rodentia. These are characterized by many characters are common to bats. They have the body is divided into head and tail. There are no parts of the body. The body is covered by hairs forming a paw, if you want paw. There is a pair of external ears. You can also see, if you turn to the ventral side, you can see, if it's a female, you can see the presence of mammary glands. Mammary glands too are present in males, like that of a human, but they are not as prominent as in females. Anyway, so
This is not about a white hat. These are borrowing. A little while ago, I was telling you about the borrowing habit. A technical term is used for borrowing habit, that is fossorial. They can dig burrows and live inside the burrow safely. So that's it for taxonomy. Hopefully, this may cater to your need. That's it from me from taxonomy point of view. We will next take up with a few left out experiments. We have already taken up with 2 experiments. The rest of the experiments will be taken up a little later. Thank you.